Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go over my review of Monday Night Raw. Starting off tonight, we got John Cena coming out to the ring. He greets the fans of Springfield, Massachusetts. John talks about Springfield, Massachusetts, and what it means to him. John says that Springfield College molded him for his future WWE career, specifically him playing football at Springfield College. John says that Lesnar wants to end the last real champion. John also says that Lesnar always has a target on John Cena's back. John says that why he can't say no. He says that he can't say no because he's the last real champion. John also says that he is afraid of Lesnar. He acknowledges the fact that he is afraid of Lesnar. But John says that he will not back down. Obviously, everybody's anticipating this matchup between John Cena and Brock Lesnar taking place at this weekend's Wrestlepalooza live from Indianapolis. A couple things about this, man. I'm going to be honest, and this might be a hot take for a lot of people, man, but am I excited for this matchup? Yes. Because, obviously, it's a high-profile matchup. This is Lesnar's first match back since he's been, away with all the shit that was going on with him. And I gave you guys my thoughts on, Lesnar returning back to WWE. That's, either we already went down that road. Besides that, it is a high-profile matchup. And the John Cena farewell tour that's, ultimately going to be coming to an end here relatively soon. The issue that I have with this matchup, man, is the story. Why did Lesnar single out John Cena? Why did Lesnar return back to WWE after all the stuff that was going on just to return and attack John Cena, leaving him helpless in the middle of the ring after multiple F5s that he had landed on Cena when Lesnar returned? Why did Lesnar single out John Cena? Why did he target John Cena? We got no rebuttal from Lesnar on why he did what he did, why he returned, why did he have his sights set on John Cena, and why are we getting this matchup between Lesnar and Cena at Wrestlepalooza? Now, there are fans out there that are like, you know what, it's going to be a good match. I don't really necessarily need a story. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. Wrestling is all about story. Yes, there is obviously the wrestling aspect of it, but to get the fans invested in that match, we need a story. And I am one of those fans, very select few fans out there that need a story. I need to know a when and a where and a why. Why did he single him out? Where's the match taking place? And where is this going? We didn't get any rebuttal from Lesnar. When Lesnar showed up last week on SmackDown, he said absolutely nothing in the aspects of why he returned and why he had his sights set on John Cena. Nothing. Nothing at all. It was just a back and forth rebuttal between Brock Lesnar and R-Truth. That's all we got. Nothing about why he singled out John Cena. And then we get Cena last night on Monday Night Raw live from Springfield, Massachusetts, where John, again, really had nothing to say in the aspects of why he believes that Lesnar had singled him out. The only thing that Cena had said was that every time that Lesnar returns, it seemingly seems as if Lesnar always has his sights set on John. John always has a target on his back that was, pretty much given by Brock Lesnar. But we got no rebuttal from Lesnar at all leading into this matchup this weekend taking place at Wrestlepalooza between Lesnar and Cena. Nothing. The other thing I want to talk about, honestly, too, is John Cena. Now, this is where it's going to be a hot take probably for a lot of people. I'm going to be honest. This farewell tour with John, I think when it all comes together and it's all said and done, I think a lot of people are going to look back on this as far as the farewell tour and ask themselves multiple questions. Why did he turn heel? Why did he turn heel and there was no acknowledgement from The Rock? Why did we not get the Thug Life John Cena? Why did we get multiple different, sides of different sides of John that he's had throughout his career? We didn't get the Thug Life Cena. We didn't get the attitude aggression Cena, if you will. We got a heel Cena that ultimately failed through its duration for John to ultimately turn back to being babyface again. And that's it. My thing is there's multiple different ways they could have gone about this with John's farewell tour. And I just feel like it's lackluster, to be honest with you. If I'm being honest. If you got to think about it, bro, you had the biggest heel turn in all professional wrestling, or one of the biggest heel turns in professional wrestling since Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO with Hall and Nash. And one of the biggest superstars in today's pro wrestling. With no reason why. I mean, yeah, he had hatred for the fans and everything else like that, but I feel as if they could have done a hell of a lot more with John's heel turn than what they did. And clearly, the shit wasn't working because they quickly flipped the script, and now John is once again the babyface that he always has been and always will be, that he's, throughout his entire career. So, clearly, John being heel did not work. So, that was my other rebuttal with John. And now, do I think John's had a hell of a career? Absolutely. Absolutely. For the longest time, John was the guy. He was the flagship guy, the catalyst for WWE, and he carried that banner on his back. Absolutely. Am I excited for the John Cena-Brock Lesnar match at Wrestlepalooza? Yeah, I think it's going to be an incredible match. I think it's going to be a barn burner kind of match. I think a lot of people, a lot of fans are anticipating this matchup between John and Lesnar. Obviously, like I said, this is one of the matches that are on John's farewell tour. His tour is almost over. So obviously there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this matchup, on top of the fact that Wrestlepalooza is an old ECW pay-per-view that WWE brought back, and on top of that, this is the first ever pay-per-view that will be streamed on ESPN. So the card is absolutely stacked from top to bottom with the thanks of this matchup between John Cena and Brock Lesnar. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of Monday Night Raw last night. It was Roxanne Perez taking on Lyra Valkyria. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Perez and Valkyria, with Valkyria keeping the pace of the match. Raquel was ringside. She ends up tripping Lyra Valkyria. The referee sees this. Referee ends up throwing out Raquel. Roxanne then capitalizes on this by hitting a Frankensteiner on Lyra for a near fall. But Lyra gets up, hits her signature Nightwing on Roxanne Perez in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Lyra Valkyria. After the match, Lyra was quickly attacked by Raquel and Roxanne Perez. After that, Bayley is here. She comes out of nowhere. She finally returns back to Monday Night Raw. Bayley then attacks Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Lyra Valkyria looks stunned, to say the least. Bayley then pretty much, snaps out of it, and then all of a sudden she starts hugging people in the audience. She hugs, Joe Tessitore and, the ring announcer and everything else like that. So it seemed like she had like a mind shift, if you will, and she just snapped out of it. You know what I mean? She even, was running through the crowd and everything else like that to go back to the backstage area. So, to be honest with you, I'm liking where they're going with Bayley. To be honest with you, I think the fact that we're seeing this other side of Bayley, possible heel turn for Bayley. I mentioned this when those vignettes were being played for Bayley. I'm a huge fan of this. I think this is something that Bayley desperately needs. I look at it in the fact that if they do this correctly, this can really benefit Bayley, as if what Naomi did when she turned heel. When Naomi turned heel, it really, really benefited her career. To a point where, obviously she's taking time on because she's starting a family, but she is going to be missed. And before she left, she was on a hot streak, man. She was the women's world heavyweight champion, and people were gravitated towards Naomi, and they loved to watch her wrestle. And she had some really good matches. And with her turning heel, it really did shine a new limelight on Naomi, and it brought a lot more fans to Naomi and got invested in what Naomi can do in the ring and in the squared circle, especially even with promos and everything else like that. So this could be something that could really benefit Bayley if Bayley does turn heel. And the way that it's playing out with these mind games that she's playing with herself, when like Lyra went backstage to try to talk to Bayley, before Lyra knocked on her locker room door, you can hear Bayley pretty much talking to herself or having an argument with herself with no one else in the room. So it looks like this is going to be some kind of mental banter back and forth mentally for Bayley, where she's having like this midlife crisis, trying to figure out who she really is as a wrestler and as an individual. So I'm all for where they're going with this with Bayley. I think this is going to be really good for Bayley and could really benefit her in her career. And I'm looking forward to where this is going to go and how this is going to play out. After that, we got Kofi Kingston taking on Penta. It was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Kingston and Penta, with Penta keeping the pace of the match. Penta then attacks Grayson Waller, who was ringside along with Xavier Woods. Penta then hits a springboard destroyer on Kofi Kingston. pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Penta. Hats off to Penta for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch and CM Punk and AJ Lee having a face-to-face leading up to their matchup that's taking place at this weekend's Wrestlepalooza. Rollins grabs a microphone. He mocks the fans. Becky then mocks CM Punk. After that, CM Punk and AJ Lee come out to the ring, grab microphones. Punk then mocks Rollins and Becky. Punk then mocks Rollins, Becky's theme song as well, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Punk does ask a question, though, to Rollins and Becky as far as he wonders if both of them can share the spotlight, and will it cause a distraction in their matchup at WrestlePalooza. Rollins says that Punk is selfish and that he's all ego. Rollins then gives him credit for AJ Lee, saying that this was the best decision that he has made in his personal life. Becky then asks Lee, how physically is she ready, considering the fact that she left also WWE 10 years ago due to a neck injury. Becky then calls herself the GOAT. Rollins then mocks CM Punk. Lee then slaps Seth Rollins. Rollins then tries to get Becky to attack Lee, but Becky gets upset and ends up leaving the ring. This is playing mind games with CM Punk and AJ Lee, which ultimately has Punk chasing after Rollins, but Becky Lynch ends up distracting AJ Lee, hits a manhandle slam on AJ Lee, leaving AJ Lee helpless in the middle of the ring. Some interesting stuff there between Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. Moving on from that, we have El Grande Americano taking on Dragon Lee. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Americano and Lee, with Grande Americano keeping the pace of the match. But Dragon Lee hits a Hurricane Rana to the outside off the apron, sending Americano to the outside. Americano and Lee then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Dragon Lee hitting a Liger bomb on Americano in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Then out of nowhere, a masked person then attacks Dragon Lee. AJ Styles is here. AJ then attacks the masked person. This allowed some chaos to ensue, if you will. Another masked superstar or a masked person then attacks AJ Styles. This allowed Americano to apply a submission hold on Dragon Lee in the middle of the ring. Referee sounds for the bell, and your winner of the match is Grande Americano. Hats off to Grande Americano for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It was announced earlier in the night that it will be Kairi Sane taking on Stephanie Vaquer. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Sane and Vaquer, with Vaquer keeping the pace of the match. Kairi hits a blockbuster. Stephanie then hits a Devil's Kiss on Kairi in the middle of the ring, followed by Stephanie hitting the finish. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Stephanie Vaquer. After the match, Io Sky is here. Io then comes out to the ring and gets in between Asuka and Stephanie Vaquer, trying to de-escalate the situation between Asuka and Stephanie. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of Monday Night Raw. It is LA Knight teaming up with Jimmy Uso to take on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Jimmy Uso and LA Knight keeping the pace of the match. Knight hits an elbow drop off the top rope, followed by Jimmy Uso hitting an Uso splash for a near fall. Jimmy hits a spear, followed by Bronson Reed hitting a jagged edge in the middle of the ring. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. After the match, Breaker hits a spear on Jimmy. Jey Uso is here. Jey then attacks Braun and Reed. Jey and LA Knight stand in the middle of the ring face to face. They both shake hands, but then out of nowhere, LA Knight hits a BFT on Jey Uso, leaving Jey Uso helpless in the middle of the ring. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys quickly, man, before I get the hell up out of here when it pertains to Monday Night Raw. Was it a solid show? It was a decent show at best. I've been telling you guys now for the past couple of weeks, man, that the storylines and creative for both Raw and SmackDown has not been hitting as of late. WWE has been more focused and fixated on the business side of things rather than what they should be doing for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Are there issues that I have with Raw besides that? Yes. I'm going to be honest, man. This shit that we've been getting for the past couple of weeks with this Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, LA Knight, Jey Uso shit, it's getting stale, man. It is. I'm getting sick and tired already of seeing the Vision in every goddamn main event. every single Monday Night Raw, which I get it because the fact that division is the only thing that's pretty much over right now on Monday Night Raw, but it's getting stale, man. It really is. And with LA Knight and Jey Uso, it's a double-edged sword, man, because the thing with this is people are contemplating, and even people that I talk to, who do you know, I've had people ask me, who do you think's going to turn heel between Jey Uso and LA Knight if I had to pick? I'm going to be honest, man, I don't want to see Jey Uso turn heel. We've just now got the reunion, if you will, of the Usos. The Usos are taking on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker at Wrestlepalooza this year. And to be honest with you, man, he's immensely over with the fans right now. And then with them going over to ESPN and having these PLEs and the fact that he sells merch and the fans are gravitated towards Jey, I think it's a bad business move all around for Jey to turn heel. To be honest, he's immensely over. He's in the main event scene. They're selling a lot of merch with the whole, yeet movement, if you will. I think it would be a bad move to have Jey Uso turn heel, to be honest. I would have to pick LA Knight. And there's for multiple reasons why. Honestly, what I just mentioned about Jey. But for LA Knight, LA Knight is one of those guys where I'm a big fan of LA Knight. And I think LA Knight has a lot of potential in WWE. But I don't know where he goes from here. And what I mean by that is LA Knight for me is one of those guys on the roster like an AJ Styles or, an Aleister Black kind of deal where you start having to look at the outside looking in and the aspect of, okay, well, where are we going to slot him in for the next, let's say, 6 months? What is LA Knight going to be doing leading up to Perth, Australia? You know what I mean? Like you had to start looking at that narrative. And he's been a babyface. He's a huge babyface. I wouldn't say as big as Jey Uso, but he's right there. I think it would benefit LA Knight immensely if he decided to say, you know what, the hell with it, I'm going to turn heel. And we get a more edgier side of LA Knight. To be honest with you, I think it would benefit Knight a hell of a lot more than Jey Uso. To be honest with you, because I feel as if LA Knight at this point needs to contemplate hitting the reset button with what he's done so far in WWE. Because clearly at this point, I don't know if they have a whole lot of faith in LA Knight. I don't know as if they see him as a possible world champion in, the status quo of what it is right now with him being a babyface. Now, with him turning heel could change a whole hell of a lot of shit for LA Knight if it does go over. It could put him in a championship race, and it also could put him in not only in the championship race to get a title, but also actually crowning him a new world champion. So, again, with LA Knight, he's always been in the race for a title. He's always been in the race for a World Heavyweight Championship or the Universal title, but he's always come up short. And I think with him possibly turning heel, not only would he be in the race for one of those titles, hell, he might win one of those goddamn titles if he does turn heel. And if it does work and the fans gravitate towards LA Knight being a heel, it could work for him immensely. So I think out of the two between Jey and LA Knight, I would have to probably pick LA Knight to be the one to turn heel. I think it would benefit him a hell of a lot more than Jey. I think right now Jey turning heel, from a business aspect of things, I think it'd be a fucking disaster. To be honest with you. Like I said, man, he is selling merchandise out the wazoo right now. Absolutely. And he is making serious money just off merchandise alone. The whole yeet movement, the fans are gravitated towards it. The fans love it. They just reunited the Usos, like I said, for this matchup against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker at Wrestlepalooza. It's their first PLE on ESPN. I just, for a business aspect, I just don't see them turning Jey heel. Now, I know some people are going to be pissed off about that and say, oh, well, Jey needs to turn heel. Bro, you have your opinion, and you're entitled to it, but at the end of the day, you got to look at the narrative of things, man. You got to realize the fact that turning him heel, how does it benefit anybody at all? It doesn't, because not only would it would not benefit Jey, with them now teaming up, and we don't know what's going to happen with the Usos after this, it would also turn Jimmy also a heel, and have the Usos as a heel tag team. I don't see that working right now. I just don't. To be honest with you, LA Knight has nothing to look forward to right now, besides him possibly turning heel and completely revamping himself in professional wrestling. I think it would work out for LA Knight immensely. A more pissed off, edgier LA Knight, pissed off at the world, looking to dismantle anybody that gets in his way. Yeah. Sign me up for that. I think LA Knight being a heel would be great. Get rid of all the crazy nonsense and everything else like that. Sure. Absolutely. I think him turning heel would be great. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at with it. But not only just that, bro. I mentioned this the other day. It might have been last week. Probably maybe Monday or Tuesday of last week. That Wrestlepalooza, the way the card is stacking up now, and now that we finally had the contract signing and done between Stephanie Vakir and Io Sky, this card for Wrestlepalooza, bro, is absolutely fucking stacked from top to bottom. With Stephanie and Io for the vacant Women's World Heavyweight Championship, you got John Cena, Brock Lesnar, you got Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, you have CM Punk teaming up with AJ Lee for the first time, taking on, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. It's going to be a hell of a card, man. You got, Jimmy and Jay taking on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. It's going to be one hell of a card, and I think Wrestlepalooza is going to be better than this past year's WrestleMania. To be honest, I think the card is stacked, which means, yeah, AEW is going to be in deep shit because they're not going technically head-to-head the same day, if you will, as far as time slots are concerned. But AEW has an event that same day with All Out. And to me, honestly, the way All Out's looking compared to WrestlePalooza, dude, they don't have a shot in the goddamn win to be the talk of the town of the wrestling weekend. To be honest with you, that pay-per-view with all due respect to AEW, that All Out pay-per-view right now is looking like a dumpster fart, bro. It's not even something that you can be like, oh, you know what, it can actually compete with WrestlePalooza. Not a fucking chance. Not a chance in hell, to be honest. It just doesn't, man. And it's sad because at the end of the day, with them starting at 3 o'clock, they can really be the talk of the town. I think Wrestlepalooza will be the talk of the wrestling weekend, to be honest with you. I think the card is absolutely stacked from top to bottom. And honestly, there's not a match on this card that I don't want to see. I want to see every single match on this card. I think it's going to be stacked. I think the fans in Indianapolis are going to go crazy for this event, and I think it's going to be very telling to see how this is going to play out. But I think the fans in Indianapolis are going to be ecstatic. There's obviously going to be a lot of eyeballs on the John Cena Brock Lesnar match. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs and reactions to AJ Lee finally making her in-ring debut, return, if you will, teaming up with CM Punk to take on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that match as well. So it's going to be very telling to see what happens, but I'm excited. I'm honestly more excited for this Wrestlepalooza pay-per-view than I am All Out, which is crazy usually because Tony Khan is Mr. Pay-Per-View, but that's kind of been lackadaisical as of late, but in my opinion. But I'm looking forward to Wrestlepalooza, man. I think Wrestlepalooza is going to be a really good event. It's obviously the debut, if you will, of the WWE PLE being on ESPN for the first time ever. So obviously production's going to be there. It's going to look like a better production than what we've seen before they went over to ESPN, hopefully. But it's their first PLE on ESPN. So this is a big time event. This is a big deal. WWE bought back an old ECW pay-per-view. We got the Lesnar return match. We have AJ Lee's return match. It's going to be monumental, to be honest with you. I think it's going to surpass what we got at this past year's WrestleMania, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. And like I told you guys, man, I'm looking forward to every match that's on that card. And I think at the end of the weekend, by the time this weekend's over, Wrestlepalooza will be the talk of the wrestling weekend this coming weekend. Absolutely. And I'm 100% locked in for it. I'm looking forward to it. I will have a review for you guys for Wrestlepalooza and All Out like I usually do for every pay-per-view in PLE. So I'm definitely excited for that. And we'll be putting out some more videos too this week. Some more news and rumors for you guys as well. I know you guys like that stuff as well. So I got some news and rumors coming out about WWE. I want to talk about the news that we got, I think it was last week, about WWE having WrestleMania 43, I believe, over in Saudi Arabia. So I want to give my thoughts and my opinions on that and tell you guys how I feel about that. And we'll have a long discussion about how I feel about the WrestleMania going over there and everything else like that. So, and that's going to be one hell of an episode. So, but like I said, man, this is going to be something where, for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, it's going to be telling to see where this company is going to go and the direction they're going. And, there's even been some people that I know of that are saying that after this matchup with CM Punk and AJ Lee taking on Rollins and Becky Lynch, that some people are thinking that this might be something that after this match, Punk might take some time off. And to be honest with you, I mean, that could be the case, because if they're going to continue this storyline with Punk and Rollins specifically, I don't really know where they're going to go from here after this matchup at Wrestlepalooza. Do I think the storyline is heating up here between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch? Absolutely. I think after Wrestlepalooza, we will see more moments and maybe matches between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. And maybe AJ Lee is going to go after Becky Lynch's Women's Intercontinental Championship. So I think that storyline here between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch is far from over, and it damn sure ain't coming to an end at Wrestlepalooza this weekend. I think that storyline's slowly starting to heat up a little bit, starting to sizzle a little bit. And we're going to see where this ends up after Wrestlepalooza, because I can see AJ Lee going after the Women's Intercontinental Championship that's currently being held right now by Becky Lynch. So it's going to be telling to see how it plays out. But like I said, man, Wrestlepalooza this weekend, I will have a review for you guys for Wrestlepalooza as well as All Out. I'm definitely excited for this Wrestlepalooza pay-per-view. I think the card is stacked from top to bottom, and I'm locked in for every single one of those matches. But with that being said, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.